they're gonna.
Yeah, we're only 12 episodes in, so whatever works.
Hey, we're still learning. We're alive, by the way.
Hey, everybody. Doesn't matter at this point. And I'm sorry, I went for like grimy today. This is probably the least dressed up I've been on the show so far. But
what are you apologizing for? You run your own company. You get to do what you want.
You know what? Today and this week has been one of those weeks where I was reminded that I'm a Black general partner at a fund, not just a general partner at a fund. So it's just been like, I needed the John Lewis funeral and all the remarks today to like fill my tank back up. Of like why I fight the good fight, because man, I'll tell you what, some people really hurt my feelings this week, and I'm just slowly getting through it. So, yeah.
Do you want to throw anyone under the bus yet, or not yet?
No bus throwing. Yeah, no throwing under the bus. Yeah. Right now we're in the lesson teaching mode. Right? Like, meeting these things with grace and not like burning down the castle with gasoline and a match. So, yeah, that's part of the work too, right? Teaching our allies how to be proper allies.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the next person.
Yeah. So, tis what it is. So that's why the sweatshirt and sweatpants and flip-flops.
I mean, but here's the thing. Cis straight white men have built billion-dollar companies in, hoodies and jeans. So there's no need to apologize for being comfortable. And you look so comfortable. I don't want to be that comfortable right now.
You can be that comfortable whenever you want.
Grab my hoodie. So Marlon has informed us, that we should talk about one big thing happening involving Kodak. So I don't know if people have strong feelings about what's going on with Kodak. I have very strong feelings, but
this is in your space that you feel strong.
It's not my space actually, because they're not a pharmaceutical company.
Shit.
Okay, but we did some research on Tuesday night, and we saw that they have been in a kind of like a low-level medical space for the last few years.
All right, tell me more.
Well, hold on, Brecky.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right. So they have been doing. 4 years ago, they started a small, emphasis on small, pharmaceutical division of the company because they had some experience with certain chemicals and resins, and they thought that some of that work would transfer to some types of pharmaceuticals. By no means is it like the list of people that I would pick to do a job like that before Kodak is endless. They're trying, they're saying, like, we've been doing it for a while. We should just ramp up. This is our chance, blah, blah.
I can name companies I've invested in that would be a better suit to receive that money for this research than them. And these are startups. So
endless number.
Was there a process? What was the process to receive this? Did they have to compete for this funding? Was it just given to them?
It depends on who you know, as I understand. If you know 45, makes it easier.
Yeah, it sounds like, our favorite person in the world, Peter Navarro, made the announcement about the partnership. Now, it is a loan.
But what kind of a loan?
Well, one under the Defense Production Act, which I'm sure doesn't have to be paid back very well or have a high interest rate. Probably has.
Which you're begging him to use in other areas, but yeah. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, my wonder is that if this was in medical imaging, it would make a lot of sense. Right?
I agree.
But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're making drugs and you're Kodak. And I swear, I thought Kodak closed.
I did too. I
No,
did
they're
too. And drug development, I feel like, is also a much different beast than just drug production. Which, like, I don't know why. I feel like they may have facilities that could be repurposed for production, but to develop something from scratch, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. I really don't. And I don't even know. I'm curious, and not to be conspiracy theorist, put my tinfoil hat on. Is that even their goal to actually bring this to market?
Well, their stock's up 1,900% since this happened. So I think the goal has been achieved, right? Like,
Right.
it's already, whatever they do, they've already won. Can't lose no matter what.
The thing is, it's saying the goal is to bring pharmaceutical manufacturing back to the United States. But we do some manufacturing here in the United States, like most like Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States, right? So super confused about how there's nothing going on here.
One of the largest generic manufacturers in Ohio. It's in Athens. I may or may not have invested in it. It's called RXQ Compounding. There are over 100 compounding facilities across the country that legally can compound particularly low quantity, high demand drugs. And they do it everywhere. And it's a nascent industry, but they crank out tons of these things across the country, all in the US.
Yeah, the Defense Production Act is really for like taking General Motors, who's making like Jeeps for people, and say, okay, now you need to make Jeeps for the military, and we're going to pay you, and we're going to make you do it, but we're going to pay you, right? But that's what it's for. Like, we need materials to win a war against whatever. In this case, Corona. It's not for taking a company that doesn't do something and literally making them do a completely different thing to save the company. That's not what it's for.
Yeah, I guess my question is how close is creating the raw materials for pharmaceuticals to creating the raw materials to take pictures? Are those similar?
I don't know what the coronavirus vaccine is. It would really depend on what it is. I would assume it's not similar because even just the standards of good manufacturing practices that have to be implemented in your facilities are so drastically different. You would spend millions of dollars just understanding legally the processes that have to be put in place for you to do this in a safe way and in an FDA approved way. So I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to a lot of other points. Like, we got this hydroxychloroquine. So maybe that's what they're going to be making. Does it need to be FDA approved? Really not anymore. So in lieu of having the CDC or the FDA or any sort of group to deal with compliance, like those things, I guess, don't matter anymore. At least for the next.
Approval doesn't matter, but good manufacturing practices and standards of cleanliness, safety, and QA all still have to be adhered to, regardless of if it's that or if it's a vitamin. And there's nothing in film that ever has to be held to any sort of actual CGMP practices. So that's a huge pivot.
Well, they've got $765 million or something like that to deal with it. So.
And then did like Moderna, were they eligible for funds like this? Are they a part of this? And other people that are actually trying to come up with vaccines?
I'm certain that other people did win awards, but the one that was kind of like stuck out like a sore thumb, I'm sure is the one that we're all talking about. So, this one doesn't make sense. This is probably the one we're talking about, but I'm sure billions of dollars was sent out to other places as well. We just haven't learned about them yet.
Yeah.
We will. January, probably about 5th, maybe February 1st.
Oof. We'll see.
That's when the House investigators start getting access to all the documents they've been blocked because the new administration drops their defense of those lawsuits and provides the information to the House and the Senate and the new Senate majority committees.
Wow.
It's going to be grand.
Wow. Can't wait.
What time?
We're still running early. Sorry, I'm reading something in the private chat from Marlon. So have you heard about Clarisonics news? And I don't know how I feel about this, actually.
No.
Remember Clarisonic? the first company to really do those face brushes.
Yes.
So they're owned by L'Oreal, and L'Oreal just announced last night that they're shutting down the division. Later this year, they're rolling it down, winding it down.
Why do you think?
The statement is, we want to focus on our core work, which is, I guess, more beauty products than hardware. That's their statement. I'm curious as to why they didn't just spin it out or just sell it to someone else.
Was it selling?
I don't know. I mean, it's a subdivision. You don't see the individual breakdown of Clarisonic in their numbers. I don't know. But it had a cult following. I don't know how well that did. I will say, though, I think they saw a lot of competition over the past few years, because really anyone can make a spin brush now. I feel like when it first came out, it was the first of its kind, very revolutionary. That was maybe 10 years ago now. So now anyone could go and make that, sell it on Amazon for $10 and crush it.
Or Amazon could make it for $10. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, on Twitch.
All the love for Amazon. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious as to what they could have done with that in a way. And it seems as though there was also some sort of subscription element to it and some interesting product support things that are being taken away at the end of the year. So I wonder if there's a way for some interesting startup player to come in and steal all those customers now who will be kind of lost in the sauce, who were former Clarisonic users.
Yeah. I mean, we can't just back things that have like a small cult following, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the lesson to be learned here, is that something can be really big on Instagram and you can have a whole lot of influencers backing something, but it doesn't mean that people are going to change their beauty routines.
Yeah.
Long term.
Have you ever used one?
No.
I use one of their Amazon knockoffs.
Exactly.
Lexi with the.
I mean,
yeah.
It's fairly expensive, and I literally use a $10 version that I think does exact same.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm a coconut oil. I'm a kind of girl, so coconut oil. That's it.
Oh, me too. But I have to. I have really bad eczema and dry skin, so I exfoliate with the brush to get all the dead skin cells off, and then go in my actual routine.
Yeah.
Candice is not a believer. Not at all.
Yeah. I've got 5 brothers, so I mean, if I'm being completely honest, like if the face wipes aren't next to my bed, then my face doesn't get washed. I don't care. Hands down. I have 5 brothers, and you guys can judge me all you want to. Boys don't do it either. So I don't care.
I mean, I have the most sensitive skin on the planet. Like if I don't have a real routine, like I start to like get hives. I'm allergic to everything. It just gets real nasty really quickly. So I have to have like a very regimented routine with my skin, because the way the skin and eczema is set up, it's just not cute.
I'm glad hopefully the audience is really appreciating this evening.
Well, I've got an audience question that I know Jay Brad's been asking for weeks. Where are the black snacks? We promised black snacks in the last season. We're now, episodes in, right?
So they'll be coming. I mean,
Pringles is not
a black snack.
Okay, but yes, actually it is. Okay, let's start there.
No.
This is a true story. Story.
Not origination story, isn't it? Okay.
Origination story. Black Thomas put these chips in this can. So let's start there. Okay. Let's start there. At Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, that's where we put these chips in the can. So this is a local food that was then spun off to who? Who bought it? You notice I can't read it. It's too close to my face.
Who is it? Is it Mondelez, Conagra?
Why doesn't it say? Pringles. I'm going to be honest. It really is not in English. I think it's because we're at a hotel. Okay, cool. So they bought it from Procter, but black chemist. Well, there were 4 people on the project, but one of them was a black chemist that I know fairly well.
Which one of them was black, Procter or Gamble?
Neither.
Well, no. I'm not.
Talking about Ed Rigo, one of the minority owners of the Cincinnati Reds, right? He helped put the chips in this can. Black man.
This is not.
So this is black snacks.
You can have black staff. Doesn't make it a black snack.
Wow.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
That's very true. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that.
Jay
Maybe finale or something. We'll do or maybe just a special episode. We'll do a black snack review.
Okay, I can do that.
Jay Brass says no, thank you. So.
I will say though, I recently got to finally try the chocolate chip cookies from Partake. Those are delicious.
Really?
Okay.
Actual black snacks. Those are absolutely delicious. And you know I have a gazillion allergies, but great cookies.
So they're actually good.
They're actually good. You know, with allergen-friendly things, you have to be a little wary. Much better than Enjoy Life. If anyone's ever had those, 10 times better.
Enjoy Life. Yes. I know what you're talking about.
Significantly better.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I've been thinking about the last 2 days now. Brie Bites. That Brie, she's a smart cookie.
She is. She came out of a great school.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm cheering for her to kick butt. To be in 35 stores and be her age, like I just think that's super cool. Yeah.
Marlon insists that we start.
Okay, Marlon. Lexi, how you feeling? We've thrown every long name at you today.
I honestly went through and I was like, okay, this person's name is said this way and practiced it. Because I know me, I have a difficult last name and it's nice when people take the time to get it right. So I try to, do the same.
Yeah. We've been the Brackens the whole time we've been married. Nobody says Bracken.
Really? I always thought always thought it was Bracken.
What did you say, Bracken?
My whole life the people say Bracken my whole life.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. I've been Bracken, so I got married last year. Anywho, yes. So we've got tonight's episode is hopefully you do a great job with saying everybody's name right. We've got
Alrighty, well, let's get started. You're watching live. Welcome to TwitchPitch, the very first live stream pitch competition on Twitch, where you, the viewer, vote for companies you like the best. New to TwitchPitch? Well, let's review. During round 1, we'll watch as each starter presents their pitch deck in 5 minutes or less. Then the judges will begin their Q&A. In the end, the judges will have the opportunity to vote in the poll below for the company they like the best. The most simple way to determine which company you like best is to ask yourself, would I invest in this company? 12 companies will pitch over the next 6 episodes, but only the 3 with the most votes will be considered for the grand prize. From that 3 will come the chosen 1. And guess what? The tiebreaker is the audience vote. Companies are competing for a grand prize of $10,000 in cash. Your panel of judges are from the team at Lightship Capital. Alexis is an investor at Lightship Capital and an health tech enthusiast. Brian Brackeen is a partner at Lightship and is an expert in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Candice Matthews Brackeen is the founder of Hillman Accelerator, general partner at Lightship, and an expert in all things CPG and e-commerce. And the man that brings it all together, the voice of God, Marlon Avery, our technical director. And I'm your host. My name is Alexia Arching, and I'm a BSMD student at the University of Cincinnati and an aspiring venture capitalist. Today, we have another very special guest, Joey Wignarajah.
You were so close.
Wignarajah?
Yes.
Wignarajah.
Oh, great.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm glad I got that.
Get a little Spanish JH situation. It was good.
Cool. He is the CEO of OK Medical Waste Disposal, a startup facility in Oklahoma, a venture partner at Lightship Capital, and advises numerous startups in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Prior to these roles, Joey was vice president at Argonaut Private Equity, a middle market private equity firm. In this role, Joey screened and executed investment opportunities, conducted due diligence, and oversaw operational improvements and strategy development within portfolio companies. Prior to Argonaut, Joey was a management consultant at Booz and Company, a foreign affairs specialist for the Office of the Secretary of Defense, and an officer in the U.S. Navy Civil Engineer Corps. Outside of work, Joey's community involvement focuses on supporting public education and entrepreneurship. He is a graduate of Tulane University, the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and the MIT Sloan School of Management. Let's give it up for Joey Wignarajah.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me.
Hey,
And,
Joey. Hey, Joey.
You know, Lexi, I will say on the name, everybody thinks it's soft J at the end. I've been dealing with that with my whole life, so not your fault.
All good.
Well, I'm glad I could get it eventually.
So also, do you actually go by Joey Wings, or is it like an email-ish kind of thing?
People have been calling me that my whole life. You know, I played high school football terribly. Yeah, so picked up names like that. Yeah, let's just put it this way: I won the Hustle Award, but it was not an All-American.
Hustle matters, bro. Hustle matters.
You know, the coach will say I never walked on the field, and I think that counts for something, right? Yeah.
That's my career as well.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. This is going to be fun. So we don't know much about the company. Lexi's actually seen them all, screened them, so she has the inside scoop, and then usually Candice and I are just completely surprised.
Okay.
So we don't know any more than you do about the video we're about to see. So
yeah.
With that, Marlon, let's give it a go.
Founder and CEO of Komeeda, a consumer management tool for restaurants of the digital economy. The past 3 months, we have watched the pandemic destroy local restaurants. But even prior to the pandemic, restaurants were struggling. 60% would fail within 2 years of opening, and that is because of high operating costs, the inability to handle marketing in-house, and a limited online presence. And as a result, restaurants heavily depended on third-party platforms to boost revenues. Platforms that would charge 30 to 75% in fees, essentially wiping out restaurants, because they only averaged a 6% profit margin. On top of that, restaurants had no direct relationship with those consumers. And as restaurants begin to reopen, unfortunately, consumers are still extremely skeptical. So it's important for restaurants to get online today to build trust with their consumers through digital channels. And Komeeda provides a CRM that enables restaurant operators to get started with that, designed so that mom and pop shops can adopt it and benefit from it right away. Our SaaS product enables restaurant operators to manage consumer information, email marketing, and online sales all through a singular app, saving them valuable time. Additionally, the app provides transparency to consumer insights, helping restaurants better serve their consumers to increase retention and revenues. And we're in position to help thousands of restaurants go digital, but we can't be selling to them now. So we're providing our product for free to help restaurants get started with aggregating their consumers and communicating with them digitally. As restaurants begin to use our product, we'll release stronger features, the first of which is a restaurant marketplace to help restaurants sell their services directly to consumers. Services such as delivery, catering, online bookings, and more. And as restaurants evolve from the free features, the stronger features will be available through a SaaS subscription starting at $39 a month. By the end of 2022, with 2,500 paid restaurants, we project to generate $16 million in revenue. And that comes from subscription and marketplace transaction fees at 5%. And Komeeda comes with some learnings. My experience building and launching and driving an event ticketing platform to help restaurants connect with consumers has taught me a lot, and it brings me to addressing this problem today. On top of that, there's a huge financial opportunity ahead. Last year, U.S. restaurants generated $860 billion in sales, and there are many companies in this space helping restaurants with distribution and operation and getting a small piece of this pie. And we see these companies as inspirations to learn from and participants in a huge market. Now, Komeeda is focused on helping restaurants build their digital storefront for the future digital economy. And we're in a position to enable many restaurants to understand consumer acquisition and get results. Because if they succeed, we will succeed. And we're raising capital to help us develop the technology to grow with them and also build brand awareness. I am Jabra Al-Bihani, founder and CEO of Komeeda, and since college, I've been working with food businesses, helping them build awareness through consumer events and digital experiences. And I'm supported by a team of very strong contractors who also believe that restaurants are the backbone of our communities. And with Komeeda's technology, we believe that we give them an honest opportunity to survive now and thrive in the future. Because the future will bring better days, and what better place for us than to get together at a local restaurant. Thank you. Take care. My name is Jabra Al-Bihani, and I encourage you to eat Komeeda.
All right. Cool. Now let's bring in
That's
Jabra.
great.
Good evening, everyone.
The power of technology. You see it?
This is incredible.
This is so much fun. I love my job. I'm going to start first because it took me a little bit to understand what problem you were solving. And that could have just been, my own ADHD. But so I think what I hear you saying is there are a lot of different apps being used by restaurants. There's information kind of here, there, and everywhere. You're bringing it all into one tool so that the restaurateur can understand who their customer is and how they're acquiring people. Is that right?
Correct. And to add on that, think like, how we have the brick and mortar for restaurants, right? And what I'm trying to build for restaurants is their digital storefront, and it's centralized, and everything that they do comes out of their store in real life, but also online, they need to maintain some sort of real estate, right? For them to own their customers and collect that information and essentially leverage it over time. So I'm building their digital storefront.
Okay. And then I saw a graphic that gave some information about things you were doing from 2014 through 2018. Can you kind of give me a little bit more information about what that graphic was? I got lost a little bit.
Yes. So I built out an event ticketing platform in 2016, which we launched. And before that, we did 50 validation events with local restaurants to see if this was something that was needed. And we launched our MVP in May 2016. It was an event ticketing platform that was used by restaurants and then evolved with also local chefs and caterers. And that was just all the revenue that was driven through the platform, all through word of mouth, all through network effect, all through community engagement. So this is the experience that I've had in the past. And kind of the relationships that I've had with kind of all the stakeholders within the industry has kind of given me this unique insight in terms of what's going on now and what's needed for the future.
Cool. Who wants next?
I've got some questions about just the market in general. It's tough with restaurants, right? I mean, you look at some of the entrenched players, big firms that are losing money as a model, right? They're essentially trying to just wait each other out until the rest die and maybe try to then kind of increase margin, right? The current noise of all the different service providers, the Grubhub, the Uber Eats, and this and that, causes a need for simplification. But it's possible that the market will simplify itself as some of these organizations like Postmates get bought and go away. And then that ultimate provider starts to provide a service similar to yours. So one, what about what I just said is absolutely wrong? Or what other answer do you have for it?
What I see is there's a lot of, now it's the big firms are monopolizing the space. It's a very fragmented industry, but now Uber, like you mentioned, took over Postmates. Grubhub was acquired by a European company. So there's kind of this monopoly happening, but nobody really overlooking the service providers, right? We have the restaurants who we touch on, but I also want to emphasize the independent chefs, the food personalities, the home cooks, the local caterers, the bars, the distilleries, the cafes, the delis, these are all food service providers who need technology, and they need to get online essentially, right? Because the next 2 years is very uncertain, right? Customers are still going to be skeptical about going out. We're still debating whether we should go back to school or not, right? So essentially, these businesses need to kind of have real estate online and offline. And if they're going to have to depend on Uber and Grubhub and these platforms, it's going to cost them a pretty penny, right? And what's happening now actually is a low risk, high reward opportunity for young entrepreneurs such as myself to go into the industry and take over businesses and implement what we're doing. And it's something that I'm doing myself. I took over a cafe that my friend shut down because of COVID, because he had zero online presence, right? And now I'm going in and I'm pretty much my own use case, just testing this out, understanding, what are the pain points and what can I implement right away that will help me kind of get customers. And I see a bunch of other peers within the space doing the same thing because we were in tech, and yeah, tech is a bit skeptical within the food space, but we also see the opportunity on the ground. And even if businesses are closing down today, there's a whole new generation of restaurant and food business owners coming in to take over and service their local communities because the community is essentially needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I think there's absolutely room. You see a lot of, it's almost like DoorDash and some of these other services that the restaurant owners use, they use because they think they have to, and they know that the margins are bad and they don't love it, but they don't have a better solution. So help me understand, are you also delivering, or are they still going to have to use these other services to deliver?
So right now, what my roadmap is kind of launch out this platform. I had an event ticketing platform, as I mentioned earlier. I actually did a lot of catering on the side, enabling kind of my local network, and I built enough margin to redevelop my MVP. My redeveloped MVP was scheduled to be launched in April, but our homie COVID showed up and that kind of ruined the party. So we had to pivot. And what that did is that kind of forced me to kind of accelerate my roadmap and see what was needed, which was kind of this comprehensive centralized technology. So what's essentially needed is, I'm sorry, I lost the question. It
was just, are they still going to have to rely on these other companies for delivery? Yes. And for how long?
For now, yes, temporarily.
Yeah.
For next year, I would say, because okay. Right now we're going to be rolling out our technology and designing it empathetically with our users, right? And just kind of getting that foundational technology, right? Let me just get the bare bones store up, right? And then I'm going to need to get delivery, yeah, eventually. But right now, I just want to understand how the storefront looks. Let's leverage what's already existing, the infrastructure. Let's integrate that right now. And then once we kind of command some market share and relationship, then we can kind of figure out ways to kind of redirect that within the community and redirect that money and that control back to the business.
Okay. Yeah, because I actually really I think your pricing model is far more manageable for a restaurant, right? Like a predictable software cost and then a small chunk of the upside, but that's great for you too, because you now have pretty consistent recurring revenue and presumably long contracts, right?
Correct. And like in the past, we've been featured in South by Southwest. We've had talks with the Central Texas Food Bank because they own their Austin Restaurant Week. We have relationships with some groups, but we haven't been able to do anything with them because I haven't had the technology really present enough to deliver value to them. So there's a lot of stakeholders here. Additionally, what I want to do is I've been receiving emails as a caterer, requests for proposals to feed the elderly and the needy, the vulnerable, right? The food insecure in the neighborhood. And a lot of these contracts are kind of high capacity, 2,000 meals a day. What I want to also create next is like this opportunity contract marketplace where I can get these proposals and I can subcontract portions of these daily meals to local restaurants, right? So I can supplement their income, right? And now this helps the community. Now you're getting different food variety. Now you're getting branding distribution, right? Now the money is staying within the community instead of these random ghost kitchens popping up out of nowhere and just kind of serving food and throwing junk at it, right? That's what's happening, and that's what we're trying to create.
Great. Thank you.
Lexi?
So we know that even pre-COVID, the average restaurant only exists for about 3 years. And there's a lot of data to suggest that restaurants were only on DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates for less than a year because of the cost and headache associated with it. So how are you going to ensure that your restaurant partners stay on Komeeda for longer than just, 9 months to a year? And how can we just increase that stickiness for longer than just a few months?
This platform we're the foundation of their store. That's how we're positioning ourselves. And it's like they will own the equity of their digital work on our platform. In itself, we believe that provides stickiness, right? Because now their work and their ownership is on this platform, and we will do everything we can to kind of maintain that value for them, because their store, think of us as a digital food hall, right? And it's like you have these stalls, and who goes to these stalls, right? These entrepreneurs who want to explore and experiment and try things out. Think of us in a digital sense, and that's what we're doing. And what do we as a food hall, what's our obligation? To drive as much traffic as possible to the food hall, to bring awareness, to enable our local entrepreneurs so that they can stay in their stall as long as possible, right? So we can provide a sustainable ecosystem for them to survive and serve their local community. So that's how we can create that stickiness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, why don't we we'll cut time for probably one audience question, so we'll bring in Alexia.
Hi, Alexia.
Hi. All right. So does Komeeda have any relationship with food vendors or suppliers to streamline that process?
So from our past work, we have relationships with chefs and restaurants. We have our ecosystem is fairly robust, and we have a very strong community. We have chefs across the entire spectrum with kind of in terms of their cuisine and their story and their culture. So we believe like in that diversity, we can provide that. So, we have it, we have relationships. And the cool thing about it is recently we've been doing these Komeeda Lives because we haven't been able to do events. We needed to engage, we had the itch. So we kind of connected with our chef community, and we did kind of free live cooking classes. So we can continue to build awareness and also engage with our community. And, I have an awesome team, Marissa, Heidi, Chef Steve, and like everybody else has been like helping like drive this. And it's been successful. It's been cool. And these are ways how we're kind of keeping everybody engaged and letting them know that, hey, we're here and we're working on something, and we'll bring the value you need sooner than later. So we got it. We're just waiting for the tech.
All right.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Just talk behind your back.
All right, take care, y'all.
This is what investors do, right, Joey? You talk about behind the person's back. So we just did that live. So we can understand.
It's a little bit like those who can do and those who can't teach. No offense to teach, those who can are entrepreneurs, and the rest of us sit around and critique you and then decide to put money in your business or not.
Exactly.
Right?
Those who can do invest.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say it's clear that Jabber is a hustler, right? Like he's going to make something work. I'm not sure if it's this, but he's going to make something work.
Well, most people that hit it big fail 3 times or more, right?
Yeah.
Not that he's failed, just saying, right? It takes some tries.
Yeah. I, for me, like he's really early on. There a little bit of a lack of kind of like focus on what problem he's trying to solve. At least that's for me on my side. I can see the problem now that I've kind of got him to refine it down a little bit. But yeah, for me, it's a little too early for this particular company. I think that there's already clear winners in the delivery space. And so maybe staying in his own lane with the CRM, I think could be the right thing.
Yeah.
But he still has to prove that particular concept.
Yeah, I worked a lot with the company that sold Savor, which was a Texas-based food delivery service, and they just couldn't break out of Texas. But they, ended up having a great outcome by selling the company to H-E-B, the grocery store chain. And so, to Candice's point, there's a lot of people in this market trying to do something. So you've really got to find what you're going to help them with and focus in on it and prove that value.
I would really love to see him just hone in on the CRM too. My bigger concern though is in terms of scalability with go-to-market, with individual restaurants being your customer. We've seen from personal experience with some of our portfolio that really you have to get some sort of larger distribution channel to make this work at scale fast. Because of the life expectancies of restaurants and just the difficulty really to get in front of them and get them to pay for something new. It's really important that you can figure out how do we scale this quickly, and going individual restaurant to restaurant is generally a really hard way to do that.
Yep. I'll admit I didn't know that stat, Lexi, about the average life being, 3 years or less. And so if you're going to have a recurring revenue model, but you can't make your contracts good for 3 years or more, it's really hard to drive value in that sense.
Yeah, it's a super hard business to be successful at. I mean, the margins are terrible, as we know. It requires a lot of more staffing issues. The restaurants are very tough.
This is actually, again, a key point for the audience. It's the associates that make the funds go, right? So like we had a call earlier today where we were just peppering Lexi with all these questions about what's standard in the space, what do I expect in return, what are, is it based on EBITDA, is it based on whatever? And she had all the answers about a company and about an industry in a meeting we didn't even schedule, right? So she didn't even have time to prepare. And so one, that's why she's senior associate, not associate. And two, a good fund is all about the people that work at the fund, sometimes less than the partners. And yet, our investors tend to not ask them as many questions. They ask us more questions, which is really interesting. So my take on this, when I went through an accelerator, when I was starting my company before this in 2012, there was a company that did this exact same thing called Picture Menu, run by a guy named Chris Lyons, who had just quit his job at Olive Garden just weeks before I met him, maybe even days before I met him. And Chris is now the chief of staff at Andreessen Horowitz, and he runs a couple of their funds, including the Cultural Leadership Fund, a venture capitalist in his own right, doing really good work. And so even if this isn't the thing, to the earlier judge's points, this experience can lead to someone who is got a senior role or running their own fund and helping lots of entrepreneurs in the future. And so it's important that people like ourselves and others take the time to listen to these pitches, give good feedback, support entrepreneurs all throughout their journey, because it's going to lead to a more equitable future ultimately. I agree. I don't think this is that thing, but I think that he may have an opportunity to go and do other things.
I've only heard one pitch ever in my life that didn't make me better at evaluating all the subsequent pitches, and that's a story for another day. It was just very bad.
We're gonna do a whole pitch show, by the way, one day. We're gonna do it. So.
Tell the stories, yeah.
Excellent. Why don't we bring Alexia back, and then she'll give us some news or what to do, and then we'll go to the next pitch.
All right, so don't forget to vote in the Twitter poll at the end of the show. But up next, we have Moodbit.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. How is your mood today? I hope everybody's having a great time. My name is Miho Shoji. I am the co-founder and CEO of Moodbit. We are an AI startup focused on employee engagement, productivity, and in the well-being of the employees. Our mission is to have happier employees in all the organizations. Since COVID-19, we have been increasing our month-over-month in more than 35%. because companies are trying to find more technologies and more tools to help the employees to be more engaged and be more productive. And that's why we have more than 300 SMEs as users and Fortune 500 companies. Employee disengagement is a problem in all the industries, since small companies to big companies. It doesn't matter in the industry, the size of the company. Every year in the US, companies are losing more than $600 billion because of employee disengagement. This is leading to other internal problems, more absentees, less productivity, and of course, less profitability. How does companies understand who is an employee that is disengaged? Well, surprisingly, every year, companies are using just an outdated, time-consuming, and costly tool, employee engagement survey, with 50 to 60 questions every year sent it to the employees and waiting for the answers, many times biased answers. This is not enough, and that's why we create Moodbit. We are a people analytics company using AI to understand the behavior of the employees, the communication patterns, and we can find influencers and isolated employees and help them to be more engaged in the corporation. And everything in an anonymous and in a private way, easy to understand and easy to use for all the managers. But we go one step further, maybe two steps further, because we want to help the employees. And that's why we create customized action plans that go directly to the employees. Meditation, breathing techniques, helping with the mental health and the well-being. And right now, coping with anxiety and with stress. This is something that our competition, they don't do that. They are not even using AI. They are using employee engagement survey in different technology and platforms. We are an AI company with real-time analytics and real-time solutions. And that's why we have more than 300 SMEs as users and Fortune 500 companies as Accenture, LATAM Airlines, and other startups. We are in a big market size in the HR tech, well-being, and productivity that every year has more than $30 billion. Our sales pipeline is very strong because we have corporate partnership with Accenture and Deloitte and other different HR organizations here in the US. We also have a great partnership with Intel that is one of the biggest companies in South America, and we are selling our technology to small companies and medium-sized companies in South America too. I am the CEO, but I have a great team of 5 experts in AI, people analytics, data scientists, and also IO psychology. We are a renowned startup with different prize and recognitions since top picks in TechCrunch, AWS Startup Pitch Day, and so on. We are fundraising $1.2 million for our seed round. I invite you to be part of this. The future of work is now. Be part of it with Moodbit. Thank you.
I love it.
Great, thank you.
All right, and here's a team from Moodbit.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Mija.
How are you?
Hey.
Good.
Great pitch.
Awesome. That's
Nice to meet you, finally.
I guess I'll lead off again. Tell me a little bit about your startup chiller experience. I'll tell you what, that's one of my favorite accelerators in the world, besides Parallel 18 and my own. So about when you went through that program.
Did I hear well, Startup Chile?
Yes.
I'm in the last batch of Startup Chile, seed 23rd. It was a great opportunity. Sadly, when it started in the beginning of March. Then pandemic happened, so I returned to New York. But I was in Chile, and I used to live in Chile, so I know how the market is there and how the industry. So I am very able to sell there, as well as in other countries in Latin America, as I'm from other country and I've been living in other countries in South America. But the program is amazing. They have great founders. Some are very, very grown in their product, in their sales. Some are starting with their MVPs, but it's a great program. I love it. I just have good words for the program.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your partnership with Intel. You want to go deeper into that.
thanks to the program with Startup Chile, what we have is a corporate partnership with Intel. They have a marketplace for their clients. So for us, this is an amazing opportunity because we can sell to SMEs in Chile that are already being part of they are already clients of Intel. So what we're doing is we are putting our technology in their marketplace, and the clients, can go to this marketplace, see our technology, and they can buy our service in that platform, like in any other platform, like AWS platform or Slack marketplace, and so on. So this has been very interesting for us because in Latin America, they do not have the culture of add-on like technologies on Slack and buy it online without the need of a consultant. So for us, this is giving us a broadly market in South America because we can sell them our services in a different way, like not maybe the ads on Slack, but we can sell it the ad on emails or other internet communication platform. And it's making the market a little bit more bigger for us because we can sell to small and medium-sized business too.
So did I hear you say that you're also selling on a few other marketplaces as well?
We are okay. on Slack, we are in AWS, and we are in a couple more, or we're working on a couple more to be launched in 2 or 3 months.
Okay. And how much does your kind of biz dev team engage with those marketplaces?
Our dev team?
Your business development team, sales.
Oh, so our main platform is Slack right now on Microsoft. So in these 2 platforms, we are gaining almost all 80% of our customers. Some of them are coming without the need to have a contact with us and the need of a sales strategy or a need of a demo and so on. They just install the technology, plug it into the platform, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really incredible. So they go and they sign up and they start getting their customized reports, and it's robust enough that they're able to take action on their own, or?
Well, they have to install Moodbit on their platforms. It takes 1 or 2 days to get all the data that they have because we use active data from these platforms in an anonymous and integrated way. And after that, yes, they go to the dashboard, Moodbit's dashboard, and they can start seeing the results and the insights from this data that they already have. And the action plans that we send to the employees are we are going directly to the employees. We are not waiting for the managers to have time to make any improvements in the company. Sometimes they do not have time. Sometimes they do not know how to improve their employee engagement or how to maintain a stronger team. So what we're doing is we're sending the actions directly to the employees. One thing that we're working on right now is to create a correlation, an analytic correlation on the results of these analytics and these action plans. Right now, we are sending some actions that are focused on the well-being and the mental health to cope with anxiety and stress, for example. But we want to create a correlation on every time you hit a certain score, this is the action that are going to be sent directly to you as an individual. But we don't have that yet, and we're working on that.
Interesting. Okay.
So and I don't know if you know this, I have a background in artificial intelligence, but also a background in HR and HR tech.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So usually when people pitch to an investor that has that kind of background, usually they see so many problems because they know too much about a topic. In your solution, all I see is solutions. All I see is like good, and great. What I'm really struck by is the biggest point of failure for these solutions is the mid-level manager doesn't have time to even take good insights and then deliver those insights in a consistent way across the organization. So you give a good insight to 5,000 managers, and like any bell curve, some of them are going to do a great job with those insights, but some of them are just bad managers, right? And they're going to do a bad job. But it sounds like you've solved that by going directly to the employee, which I think is super interesting. So, which leads me to ask you, where did it come from? So did you have this problem? Like, what was the kind of origin story to how you got to some of these solutions? That's my first question. And my second question is, with so much traction in both Latin America and the US, how do you think about dividing your kind of go-to-market strategy? I mean, there's so much growth in Sao Paulo and Bogota and Medellin and places like that, where you could build a billion-dollar business only in the Latin American market with lower acquisition costs. So how do you think about that as a second question?
Great questions. The first one, my experience, this is my second company, my first full tech company, but my first company was an HR consultant. We were creating technology for big corporations in South America, and my main clients were HR people. So I spent a lot of time with them, with my clients. I communicated with them, and I asked them what was the main pain points in their departments. And I also see them and watch what was their struggle. And I saw how much time they use for employee engagement survey. Sometimes I go visit to their office 1 month and they were creating the survey. The next month they were delivering the survey and making the employees answer this survey. So it took maybe between 2 to 3 months to create this whole process, and then coming back the results and analyzing it. It was a struggle, and they didn't have the time in this whole year to make any changes in the company. So I started asking my clients, what is the main data that you have from your employees? How do you analyze if they are engaged or not? How do you know when they are going to leave the company or not? They didn't know. They didn't have any type of answer or real-time answers. They just knew when somebody were resigning, when that person just sent a letter. So I started studying people analytics, and with my co-founder, we said, like, there's a lot of data internally in all these communication partners. My background is in people analytics and communication. So what we did is start using AI to analyze all the communication patterns in the communication platforms. So this is how we create the concept and start creating the MVP, and then we launch and have a lot of traction. And for your second question, it would be a great idea to go to South America and have a $1 billion business just in that market. But the main problem with going so fast in South America is how they start using AI, how scared they can be of using AI in internet communication platforms. Maybe here in the US, they have a more open-minded, and they are willing to use some technologies that are very disruptive. Some of our customers are from Europe too, and from India, and they are coming without a lot of our strategy on marketing. So I can assume, as my knowledge and my experience with South American market is that maybe we can be a little bit too early with this technology in that market, but that's why we are partnership with Entel, because we want a little bit of knowledge and backing up for a big company to sell our technology for people that are already engaged with a big company, and then we can start selling to the big ones. But we have a pilot with one of the biggest airline companies in South America, that is LATAM Airlines.
Thank you so much. But yeah, Candice and I flew LATAM recently. Loved it. Amazing airline. So thank you, Lexi.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to see the reports for the airline employees right now. Can't be good.
Mia, what kind of education or work has to be done on your end to ensure that not only that your HR champion is on board to bring this in-house, but also that old school, 10 years dated chief information or chief security officer is also on board with bringing
That's a good question. We usually go to the people that are in HR. Those are our champions and our influencers internally. HR people that have a department for people culture or some type of mindset of culture, organizational culture, are the people that we go for to sell. And how do they go to these people that are more traditional? Is with the results of the technology. When we start a pilot, or when they start using us. Maybe they start not in the whole company with 300 employees, but they start in their department. When they start with this small reports, they can go to these traditional people and say like, hey, this is what we have been seeing with Moodbit, and this is the report that we can see and the action plans that we are receiving every Monday. And people are very happy. People are reviewing their company with good reviews because they have been starting to receive our action plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joey?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's the idea that they can go and sign up and they just install it themselves is really interesting to me. I think, Dropbox has been able to do it, Box has been able to do it. Other people are kind of getting there, able to make their sales, but I've advised or been on the board of a few companies that have tried to get there, and it's a hard place to get. But if you can get there and bring your cost of customer acquisition down, I think position the company to be really high value.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say amen to that. It is. It's the grail. So I actually reminded me of another question I wanted to ask you while waiting for some audience questions here. Sometimes some of those CIOs that Lexi was talking about, they want internal tools versus external. Some people are still painfully anti-cloud, right? Joey does.
Yeah. Don't develop your tool in-house.
Right. Exactly. So how does your tool work with those kinds of folks? Are you a cloud-based solution or can I install it in my, like a containerized Docker format in my own environment?
No, just cloud-based. And we don't store any type of data. So the employees don't have the fear of the boss going to us saying, hey, I want to see what my team is saying or how they are communicating or who is, no, we are just cloud-based.
So you take the data, anonymize it, run it against the model, create the reporting result, and that's it. So it's just one way in and then just data out.
Yes.
Got it. Awesome.
Thank you.
I think you did so good that the audience don't have any questions. So
I think there's a lag in question. StreamYard. I don't have anything to do with anything other than the platform we're using. So I'm trying to peek into Twitter or Periscope to see if there's anything. Or we could just come up with one more question and not forget that Joey has a hard stop.
Yeah, we can just.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that displacing this idea of surveys. To your point, it takes 3 or 4 months before you even get the results from the time that maybe the board or the C-suite says let's do it. How do you, for some of your customers that have been around a long time, how are they using sort of the longitudinal data? Like, do they find it more valuable? How long are you keeping customers on average? Are people getting in, trying it, and staying a while, or how's that work? Because I can imagine, from my perspective, I feel like if it were valuable, it would become more valuable over time.
Right.
Is that something you're seeing?
So we have been, we launched 1 year ago. And in this year, we had a churn of 1 to 2% of every month, I mean. We have been seeing different reactions from our users because we have been adding more features and more analytics every time. We hear a lot of what they need. Sometimes we almost customize for their needs with our analytics, what it's taking us sometimes a lot of our time in developing. But we want them to keep our service for their solutions, for their companies. Sometimes they are still using these traditional companies that are doing surveys, as Glean or Lattice or so on. But in my idea, I think, is that they are going to transition to a full-time Moodbit service and not using employee surveys anymore. I think they are still using some employee engagement surveys because it's a very traditional and corporate culture way to run information to their executives. But if with this remote working and everybody is in their home, our technology have been more used and more needed more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always been, I think you always have to take employee surveys with a little bit of grain of salt. You either, people will tell you they're really, really happy and they're probably not as happy as they're telling you, or they're really, really not happy and they're not as unhappy as they're telling you. So the real answer always feels kind of in the middle, right? So I like this idea of you're just taking their regular communication and all of that and saying, because even if you're a little bit wrong, it's consistent over time in a way an employee survey can't be. Right?
And actually, we added a couple months ago a small pull survey for our technology that can be run if they want every week or if they want every month. So they have a little bit of peace of mind that they are also surveying their people, but just with 2 questions. That's it. I don't like 50 or 60 questions of surveys.
Yeah. So Lexi, we got an audience question.
Could you remind us what you're going to use the money you raise for?
Great. Yeah. So we are thinking to have 60% of the money of what we raise for product, 40% for sales and marketing, because we need to scale our sales strategy and marketing strategy.
Excellent. Well,
thank
you so much. Deeply appreciate you coming on the show today.
Tk you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk about your company behind your back. It's going to be great.
While you watch us. Yeah.
I love it. All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first this time because, man, really, whenever I see an HR AI firm, I'm just all ready to just give a million problems. Like, oh, this isn't going to work. That's not going to work. I've seen this a million times. That this passes all, really all those tests. It's still not an easy thing to do by any means, but feels like she's thinking about things the right way. There must be a pretty strong team there. It's truly, I think Joey's going to talk a little bit about like the ease of onboarding. If I can just go into Slack and kind of like click it on and then let it run for a couple of days and then get a result, and that's the bar, like that's the barrier to entry to try.
I've been chasing it for years. Find it.
That's the rest of it can work itself out. It doesn't even matter right now how good the insight is, right? You can make the insights better, right? You can just create an onboarding path that easy.
Yeah, but the risk is a little bit, right? You got to make sure that first report is really good, or the number of pieces of software I install, I try it, and I'm like, it doesn't do what I thought, and I install it. They may never get another bite at the apple, right? So you really got to make sure that first bit of insight is valuable, right?
I agree. Deeply agree.
Yeah.
Ladies?
I mean, I think I heard her say that they've got 300 SMBs on the platform. Do we know how many actual users there are at this point? Or is that the total number of users?
I took it as users, but
I thought it was users. I thought SMEs, but then also so small, medium enterprise with about 300 users, I thought.
Okay.
Right? So I didn't see the number. Yeah. But
so Miho says no. She says 300 individual, 300 small to medium businesses.
Okay.
So Miho, how many users would you say, if you don't mind typing in the box?
Oh, well, this is good to know.
That's a good number.
There's nothing I love more when evaluating whether or not to invest in a startup when they already have customers and contracts. Right? At that point, it's not me deciding if it's a good idea. 300 people already did, right? And so the question is, what's the right amount of risk to put into the business to get the return, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
300 customers, not users, but 300 customers in a year-old HR tech AI firm puts you in the top 5%.
Well, because the interesting thing is, like, think about how often, only in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong, Brian, because you got more experience in this area, but HR is not always, it was very rarely mission critical, right? So it's not like they're speccing out the technology that the company is going to buy, and they don't often have a budget, right? Anytime I put in HR technology, it's, hey, do we buy the human capital module on the ERP or not? Right? Like, it's not what do we really need technology wise here.
Lexi,
that's changing, because now in the remote work world, I think that's got to change.
Let's have Lexi read the answer to the question.
So Miho says that they have more than 97,000 employees.
Wow.
Within the 300
money. Take it.
300 businesses.
Take it.
300 businesses, 97,000 users doing stuff.
And
how are you charging, and why do you need money? I mean, hell, charge $1 a month per person.
Now Miho's in the comments like, okay, talk later.
The first 6 months you're just building, right? You're just building. So that's a lot of traction for the first year. It's a lot of traction.
Komeeda.
Yeah. Komeeda. We haven't seen the end of you, Komeeda.
One last thing, really quickly. If you know me in person, you know I normally hate HR tech with a burning passion. And I hate it because generally it's a consulting project masquerading as a tech company, which is generally my biggest problem with things in this space. But this is an actual tech company. She's actually built something super fantastic, strong founder, obviously. Really excited to see what she does with this.
Yeah, that's what I got. That's all I got.
I can think of at least two. I'd say one company for sure in Argonaut's portfolio that I think would eat this up, and so we'll get it over to them. And
we met this SVP of HR at a Fortune 1000 company today, and this is exactly what he was asking for, right, Candice? This is
exactly what he was asking for.
Literally exactly what he was asking for. Like, so
engagement AI platform. It's exactly what he asked for. Like,
literally.
Verbatim.
I see you down there, Miho. Yes, I will absolutely recommend you to that company.
She's selling the comments. She's selling the comments.
Oh, no, I love it.
All right. So, why don't we bring Lexi? But we're going to try to end the show on time today, or even a little early.
Yeah.
We always got to run. So why don't we bring Lexi?
I apologize, but yeah.
To wrap us a little bit here.
Alrighty. Well, first of all, thank you, Joey, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
But to the audience, we're coming to the end of another cool show. A huge thank you to the judges, our guest judge, and the companies. The Twitter poll is now live, so go vote for your favorite company. So think of it this way. Again, if you are a venture capitalist, who would you bet your money on? This episode of TwitchPitch is sponsored by Republic. Republic allows anyone to invest in vetted private startups. They launched to level the playing field for entrepreneurs and investors and continues to innovate and push forward toward their mission to democratize startup fundraising and investing. These are real firms pitching real investors for real cash prizes. Stay tuned for our next episode on Tuesday at 7 p.m., where we'll have another very special guest. Tune in to find out who.
All right. And so, yeah, what do you think, Joey, before we leave? How are you liking our little show here?
Oh, I love this. This is awesome. Thank you for having me. Always humbled to be asked my opinion about, on businesses where people are doing stuff. I have a new appreciation for entrepreneurship this year as I work to start this medical waste disposal company, which is nothing compared to what the two people we saw today are doing. So again, thank you for having me, and I love it.
No, looking forward to having you back. Looking forward to working with you in our regular non-TV life here as well. So cool. So now we're going to, this is where the show ends. We'll go to like a behind the scenes segment where we'll continue to talk. But again, Joe, you can kind of stay or go, whatever you want to do.
I've got a couple minutes. I want to hear that part.
Excellent. So, yeah.
Excellent. Hey, Greg Greenlee, how are you doing? I see him down there.
So Greg Greenlee, for the folks, at home, another amazing Cincinnatian. Is he originally from Cincinnati?
Yes, he is from Cincinnati.
Okay. So he runs this group called BIT, Blacks in Technology, runs a conference in Minneapolis every year, with COVID and all, but, I'm sure he'll be back next year. He's able to get hundreds, if not thousands of folks together. It's mostly Black engineers. And like a labor of love, put together really one of the best Black engineering conferences in the country. In his spare time when he's not doing all the other things that he does. So good to have him here watching the show today.
Yeah, awesome. One of the best humans. Yeah, he said born and raised. I'll tell you what, there's an
There's
an amazing group of folks in Ohio. Like we all really stick together, and I've been building this crazy thing called like a national Black tech ecosystem. So it's great to have him in town. I love that guy. So, gosh, what did I want to talk about behind the scenes today, you guys? I know there was something. Somebody else go. No one?
This is my first behind the scenes segment, so I don't really know what you're talking about.
Well, I can give a plug to some cool things that are happening in the world right now. Okay. If you are interested in entrepreneurship or venture, the HBCU VC Fellow application is open. I don't remember the deadline, but please go check them out. They're doing some really great work in democratizing venture and entrepreneurship across the country. Definitely check that out. Also, if you are an entrepreneur, an operator, or a funder, Always has applications open for the new Women's Focused Speakers Bureau that they're creating. Go check that out. I think that deadline is also sometime this week, maybe tomorrow. There's one more and I've now forgotten it, so I'm sorry. But definitely check out those two things. And then the first round applications are also open for their VC fellowship. If you're interested in what we do and learning more, check out those apps.
Oh, I'll throw one out there that we haven't really announced. So we're going to start looking for entrepreneurs in the Detroit area. And so if you know anyone in the Detroit area, like send them our way directly to the website. Remember, don't hit my DMs or my email. So like, site and just mark that Detroit is a city of interest. And we'd love to have you. So we're going to be working on a couple of programs in Detroit. So we offer a boot camp and an accelerator. We'll also be funding some companies in the Detroit area. So if you know anybody, please let us know.
And when you say Detroit, you're including outside of Detroit too, right? So people in Lansing, people in all kinds of other cool cities.
I'm going to go as far south as Toledo because Toledo used to be a part of Michigan. So let's go there too.
It's a stretch, but anyone in those ecosystems, please
go
to the website.
Cool stuff going on in Toledo. Yeah.
There is
some stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some cool stuff.
A few years ago, some of the big companies were moving back into downtown to get their employees excited, and I think anytime you got a town doing that, then there's got to be some cool people.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we talk a lot about the differences between Toledo and Tulsa and how there's some similarities and there's some key differences, and mostly around some of the foundation work that goes on in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. They don't have the access to that kind of capital in Toledo, and so you have a different, really a scrappiness that's kind of forced on them in Toledo that we'd like to kind of bring some of that actually to Tulsa, interestingly enough.
Well, if you take the 4 or 5 largest foundations that you're talking about, the people that started them had nothing when they started either. And that's right. That's one lifetime. So I can name the top 5 and they had nothing when they started. Yeah.
And what are they? And what's the total like AUM for those 5 now?
Well, the Tulsa Community Foundation is $4 billion in a city of 400,000 people, and that doesn't include probably 2 or 3 of them that are huge. So you're probably talking, I would say probably $6 or $7 billion worth of family foundations that are actively deploying money here.
Such a unique situation.
Very.
I hate that I have to leave because I'm having the best time. So I hope this isn't like a one-time thing. I hope I've done a good job and come back.
So anytime we'll let you know.
All right.
We'll have you back.
Good to see you all. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Aw.
It might be
super nice.
Yeah, might be time for us too.
Time for us to what?
Go. Let's get out of it.
We're not giving people a little bit more time? It's 8:04.
Candice isn't quite hungry yet, is what she's saying. She's saying it's not.
I ate all of my potato chips and all of my cashews. And yes, I am.
Speaking of food, though, since we'll be doing some Detroit travel, what's the food scene like in Detroit? Actually,
very good.
Tell me.
I was at a place called Besa last night, Besa, downtown Detroit, and I had a meze platter with roasted beets, this street corn that was over a chimichurri sauce, and watermelon feta salad. There were some olives and something else. And then I had a potato leek tart that was with pea shoots and like these edible flowers. It was crazy.
Are you vegetarian, Candice?
Yeah.
I love that for you even more.
So is Brian. So is Brian.
Oh, awesome. So are you the only meat eater here, Alexis?
I am, proudly.
Love
I go through phases of pescatarianism, but I need some sort of, because I'm allergic to nuts, I actually was a vegetarian when I was younger, and my allergies made it very difficult for me to be a healthy vegetarian.
Oh, yeah.
It became a dangerous situation for a bit. I actually have a question about geographies and food. So as some of you know, I was recently traveling, safely, though, socially distant traveling. And I had discovered that some of my friends from the Midwest had never had scallops before.
What?
And I'm curious, is that a regional thing?
Really?
Candice, as my resident Midwestern expert, give me some clarity on this. I was very surprised. And these are adults. Who never had it before.
Okay. So I did not have scallops until I was 22 or 23 years old.
What? I never knew this.
You know, that could be several reasons for that. Okay. So I'm gonna blame one on coming from a humble upbringing. So let's
I was poor too, but you know, I had
but we had seafood. But scallops are one of those things that if it is not fresh, it will kill you. So I don't think scallops in the Midwest are a great idea. Right?
Yeah. The thing about even the Mid-Atlantic states, right? Like Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, some scallops are not native to a lot of these areas either. They get shipped in from different places. So you should, like, I wonder if a Chicagoan is more likely to have had scallops than someone from Detroit.
I'm curious. It's something for me and my family. Like, it's something you feed kids because you don't have to have teeth, right? So like if everyone's having other seafood dishes, you give kids scallops because it's soft. And so I've always grown up eating it. I was very surprised that, and a lot of the people on the trip were from Ohio or Illinois, some Kentucky, and then all of my East Coast friends on the trip. Of course, we've been eating it since we were children. So I didn't realize that was as regional as it was.
Scallops also for an East Coast person, it's a little bit of a stretch, like of a filler food. So like if you're doing like a seafood Alfredo and you can't afford to do a whole bunch of shrimp or lobster or this or that, you're throwing those little baby cheap, scallops in there. Gives you a little more, room for your butt.
It's so cheap on the East Coast, which is why I was cooking it. I was getting 4 pounds for like $15, whereas in Cincinnati, I'm not going to say who, but there's a guy selling them for $23 a pound, and he considers himself to be like a cheaper person selling them.
It's not that good. It's not that good. $23.
And it's not fresh.
3 days old. 3 days old.
Yeah.
And you know it. I guess I had one other audience thing, and it was, I know Hadia is connecting us with folks to be judges from HBCU VC, but if there are any folks that could be guest judges in the audience that have a VC or investment background, we'd love to have you. That's another one. Right?
True.
For next season, not this season. We're filled up.
We're full.
We're all full.
We're going to have Joey on more as well, since he's like, an extension of the team. So.
Absolutely. So, yeah, okay. I think this is the point where I get hungry. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you. See you guys next week right here at 7 p.m. Easter.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.